Oh, you got to be kidding me. That sucks. So essentially, I just talked this whole time and thought I was live because at some point it shut off. That sucks. I just sat here for like 3 minutes thinking, was I live? Oh my god. I just did this whole rant for 19 minutes and thought I was live. Who can relate? Has anyone done that? Just throw it up in the chat maybe. That hurts because that's already the second time I've gone through this morning. That's already the second time I've gone through this morning. All right. We'll go through it again. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about what's holding you back. And I just stopped, got done with the gym not too long ago. I haven't showered yet. I smell awful. Sometimes it's better to just throw on the camera and jump live when you got something on your mind. And for whatever reason, when I go to the gym, there's just always something that comes to me. Always something that comes to me that I want to talk about, which is usually what fuels a lot of what you see in front of you, which is a free email series that I do. I don't have the link in the description. I didn't do a description for this live stream actually, but it's just mindset.substack.com. Completely free. But yeah, we talk about mindset, talk about peak performer attributes. And I think this is a topic that it's kind of funny because it's blown out of proportion. It's made harder than it needs to be. Like, if you're not born with these genes and this genetic code, then you will not be a peak performer, or you have to take steroids or a bunch of supplements and things to like get to this level that everyone else is at. And it's really not like that at all. And there was a point in time, way back when I was addicted to biohacking and doing blood work all the time, which I think that's important. And just taking way too many supplements just to, try and squeeze every ounce of optimization out of every day. And I made a product when I was like in the peak of doing this, by the way, which if you're interested in this topic and you want to get in on that, it's on Udemy. I think it's called Peak Performance for Entrepreneurs. It's a couple years old, but what's funny is that I think it's like 4 or 5 years, actually. 4 or 5 years old. The stuff I talk about then, there's still books being written about. Stuff I talk about then and what I break down is the magic sauce. It's the secret sauce. And yet, here we are, fast forward, and it's still relevant. None of it's really changed. Everything I talked about with like productivity stuff and, the importance of blood work, and I talk about intermittent fasting and, those types of optimization factors, how to track your work properly, goal setting, all that stuff is still relevant today. Still hugely relevant. I'm like keeping an eye on the stream thing now because it boots you off sometimes. I don't know why it does this. But yeah, so the topic for this morning in the email was everything has a cycle. What's funny about this, we started as a crypto channel, remember? And we used to talk about market structure and cycles. Everything has a cycle. Economies have a cycle, right? Like China's economy seems to work off of like a 200-year cycle. In America, it's more like 20 years or less, which is why you see everyone freaking out right now and thinking that tomorrow the bottom's going to fall out or the next day the bottom's going to fall out. And you got all the YouTube doom and gloomers who want to talk about never at any point in history has this happened before. Well, yeah, we might be breaking out of the cycle. And that would be completely okay. And it would be completely uncharted territory. But during that time, understand every day, every fucking week, every year, they're going to be acting like it's going to end any minute now. Any minute now. Inverted yield curve back in June and then August. Reverted. We had what was it? I think back in August, September, we had a 37% odd of hitting recession in August of 2020. Now it's only like 24%, 25%, right? So, these things change. And yes, we are at all-time high debt levels, and we are at all-time high levels on everything. We might be breaking out of that cycle, and nobody talks about that. Nobody says like, hey, even though all this stuff is at all-time highs, that doesn't mean that it's going to like fall apart tomorrow. We might have broken out of the old cycle into a new one. Right now, we're 11 years, the biggest expansionary period ever, without, so 11 years without, well, it's 10.7 years without a 20% pullback. All right? This is all seen as bad because fear drives clicks. So yeah, that's why every day the YouTubers roll out the red carpet for the doom and gloom. That's why every day Forbes, Wall Street Journal, mainstream media, they roll out the red carpet for doom and gloom. Because even though they're also talking about all this good stuff, and then they're over here talking about 50,000 other topics, fear drives clicks. All right? So anyways, there's a cycle to everything. There's a cycle to you with your physical body, with how you take fitness and how you take New Year's resolutions and getting back in shape and those things. Your relationships, your money, all those things are on their own cycle, but then those cycles interact on a big, mega cycle, okay? Which is why, like, I didn't get into Elliott wave theory itself, but the idea of, like, Gann theory and a lot of, like, the cycles within cycles within cycles, mega cycles, gigantic cycles, there is a lot of validity to that because that's how we are. And people are price, price is people, meaning that how we feel is what you're seeing expressed on the bar charts in any risk asset class or any asset class in general, okay? It's based off how we all feel, which obviously nobody gave a fuck about the impeachment because look at the markets. If everyone thought, if this was treated similar to Nixon and the other impeachments in the past, well, that was a resignation, but you get my point, is the markets would have reacted a lot differently than they did. They didn't. Okay? So that means that behaviorally, nobody really cared. Now, in Iran war, that would be very different. What we would compare that to, just to get a baseline or see what could happen, is we would look at the Gulf War and we'd look at Vietnam War. Okay, anyways, that's enough of that stuff. So the example I give in here is victimhood. And the reason why I talk so much about this is because it is a problem right now. And so the more I see it affecting people negatively, the more I'm going to talk about it. And there's going to be a ton of people this doesn't like. Got to understand, when you've buried all your traumas in the box, deep down inside, and when you've avoided all the shit that you don't like, okay, is, first off, it's going to be very easy to trigger you. It's going to be very easy to trigger that. But secondly, you are not actually adding the most value you could be to the world around you. And you're not really being a productive person in society. You're taking. You've flipped the script and you're blaming everyone else around you and the world itself, God, who knows, who cares. You're blaming all the inside out there. When what you've forgotten is that inside creates the outside. How I feel about myself, what I feel my limitations are, my self-esteem levels and issues I might have create my reality. And I'm always in control of that. But you see, that's not popular right now. What's popular right now is blame everybody else. And there's a new hashtag movement, every single week with a new oppressed group that wants reparations or they want somebody to do something for them. And here's why I want to talk about, what I really want to talk about with what's holding you back, is it could be victimhood. It could be any belief that's static, that's rigid. Understand that is going to take a lot of energy to keep you there. Okay? So if you're waking up in the morning feeling tired, looking old, looking just drained of life when you see yourself in the mirror, instead of reaching for the energy drink or maybe it's my adrenals, maybe I got a metabolism issue, maybe I should go see the doctor and change my diet, maybe. But what are you expecting of the world around you that you know deep down is not true? Why don't we look there? Because that's the shit that's draining your life out of you. Because just think of how much energy it's going to take for you to sit there. I just picture it like if it was a physical representation, it'd look like this, mad and sad. And I won't move like a little kid who's in a store crying to mom that he wants the candy bar or he wants the new toy. That's what we look like. Yeah. So that silliness that you laugh at, we do the same shit as adults. And it's anything that we are expecting the world to be that it's just not gonna be. Okay? The world is always moving. Everything's always in motion. Everything's always changing, always changing, always changing. So unless you have beliefs that are grounded in understanding that growth is necessary, things are always going to change, challenge is a natural part of the process, those are beliefs that aren't static. They're dynamic, right? Believing in yourself, I can take on any situation, I can face anything going on in my reality, right? Unless you have those sorts of beliefs, chances are you have a static belief. And you're going to fight reality every second of every day, which takes a fuckload of energy. Okay? Takes a lot of energy. But you see, we've got all of our excuses. So we look in the mirror and we're like, fuck, man, well, I'm 25 or I'm 35 or I'm 65. Maybe I'm just getting old. Maybe this is just how it is. Because all the social conditioning. And we can pull from that when we need to. Like any biased individual would. Well, I'm going to pluck this reason from here and pluck this reason from here and pluck this one from here. And it suits this. And now I can just go back to being comfortable. Right? And it's just phenomenal to see. And it's like this. I said this before. The more I learn and the depth of the truth that I realize about the world, the universe, it becomes so much harder to talk about it. Because how I talk about it, I don't know how this sounds, by the way. This might sound like shit. This might sound like really common sense. But we all know that common sense isn't so common. And there's a very small percentage of people who are willing to sit down and look themselves in the mirror and start to write down and assess these patterns, these behaviors that have gone unchecked for who knows how long, that might be limiting us from the shit we actually want. See, any brainwave pattern, alpha, beta, delta, theta, gamma, or any pattern in terms of behavior can become addictive. It can turn into this self-fulfilling prophecy too, but it can become addictive. So the longer we're sitting in that groove, oh baby, we're sinking down in more and more. Kind of like how when somebody realizes that they're wrong, average person does what? Double down on the lie. And they'll lie to try and get themselves out of it. Knowing damn well you can't lie yourself out of being wrong. There's nothing wrong with being wrong. I don't know. When did we start taking ourselves so serious that you can't just admit you're wrong? Or admit that better information was presented to me. I used to believe this. Now I believe something different. That's okay too. Call me crazy, but that's okay. So the issue is that there's, it starts to really sink its teeth in. And we have many different pieces of this. We could talk about this from a brain science standpoint, neuroplasticity, right? The more that neurons fire together, they will wire together over time, creating a neural network. And you better believe that neural network gets stronger over time. Just like weeds, just like anything else does, the roots start to sink their teeth in. So these behaviors can become addictive, just like a brainwave pattern can become addictive. So, best example is also the worst. Gary Vee, for example, he's very much addicted to a very alert, I believe it's alpha, brainwave pattern. Okay? And that's like go, 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 caffeinated. And you've heard him say this. I don't know. I haven't listened to him in over a year, but he was just kind of starting to talk about this back then. Maybe it was a year and a half. Is like he'll never meditate. And the reason why he'll never meditate is because he knows it's going to fuck him up. He knows it's going to take him out of this state that he cherishes so much to allow him to get so much stuff done. At some point he'll have to, or he's going to wear himself out. Like his trajectory is going to hit a fucking brick wall. And it's just going to be like thud. Right? Anyways, that doesn't matter. But the fact remains is that he's a great example of getting addicted to a very alert consciousness or alert level, right? Alert pattern. And it takes a lot to stay in that because there's all this natural flow of the planet pulling you to come relax, meditate, recenter up with, whatever. And it becomes very hard to actually stop it and do that. But there is a fundamental lack here that I'm seeing in society, and it's really just being able to use energy properly. We are very inefficient. Just like light bulbs, we operated off of very inefficient light bulbs for a very long time. Well, we're doing the same thing with energy. Going back to what I said, like, I start getting in your face and I start raising my voice and I start getting loud. You have your judgments of what that is. But all it is at the simplest form is I'm trying to give you energy. You understand? When somebody's excited, somebody's yelling, even if they're yelling and they look mad, they're just giving you energy, and they might be mad. And they might be screaming and yelling about how stupid everybody is, right? That might be true. Doesn't really matter. At the basics, they're giving you energy, and you can choose to take that and be very selfish, which I think you should be in that instance. Take that energy, let it go into the body, and then so you can go do stuff, or we can block it and say, no, I don't like that because see the look on his face. I don't like his suit. I don't like his face. I don't like what he's saying. I don't like his tonality. And we block the energy. And if we're willing to do it there, based on tonality and based on all these subconscious cues, where else are we doing that? Great question, right? Where else are we doing that? Where else are we blocking that energy? And so you get how it all becomes so fucking exhausting. How come nobody's stopping to look at this and be like, wow, fuck, I'm wearing myself out. Wear myself out. And I used to think, for the longest time, I thought there was some magic fucking juice, right? Because let's go back through trip down memory lane with Jay here. Growing up, I thought money would fix all the problems. I thought money equaled happiness. This is in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. There was no internet back then, so I couldn't just Google it and then tell my parents that they're full of shit, or tell myself that I was full of shit based on what I was trying to believe at the time. I saw that when we didn't have a lot. One year we had to have Thanksgiving gifted to us. Okay, all the neighborhood came together. I think the church or something came together and gave us Thanksgiving. I just saw everyone was fucking sad. Everyone's crying and shit. And I'm like, okay, well, that's bad. Very basic footprinting, right? Like, crying's bad. And then I saw, okay, well, there's points when we had money, leasing new vehicles, driving shiny new cars. And I'm like, okay, good, right? Very basic. And it wasn't until I started hitting these mile markers that the rubber fucking fell off the road real quick. Because I hit what was by far the pinnacle at the time. Everyone, 6 figures, make 6 figures, man. And you know what 6 figures means to most people? It means $100,000 exactly, on the dot. Not 100,001, not 100,010. 6 figures equals exactly $100,000. And I made that. I'm looking around. Well, fuck, man. Nothing's really changed. I still had toxic relationships. I won't talk about that, but, going and trying to find love in all the wrong places, I guess you could say. And still had toxic relationships. The people around me I didn't really like. I'm like, okay, maybe it's 200,000. Maybe, okay, yeah, maybe that's the trick. And I carried this on until over $1 million. And then, when that wasn't true, and I was like, well, wait a second, I just did what everyone said was great. No, it's not so great. Self-sabotage. It all fell apart way quicker. It's just like your gym gains. Your gym gains can fucking go away immediately. You stop training. 30 days, you start a little bit. 60 days, a little softer. But you take a good year off and you look like shit. Yeah. For most people, it's actually 90 days. Same thing happened there. So wheels fell off. And then it was like, okay, we got to start getting down to something real. So then it was... where did I start? I actually don't remember where I started. I think I started with Timeless Body. What is it? Timeless Body, Timeless Mind by Deepak Chopra. I don't know how I got that book. I think my mom had bought it for me at some point. And I tried to read it a few times before then, but I had zero experience with this stuff. And I tried to read it. I'm like, what the fuck are they talking about? This shit sounds retarded, right? And I started there and I moved into other stuff. I got into biohacking. Maybe it was my physical body that I needed to change. Got hooked into that. Then I'm like, oh, no, it's functional. No, it's meditation. And I just carried this on. The insanity, right? Which a lot of people are in that loop right now. They've hit their ceiling. They've realized they're miserable. They're unhappy. And they're going to try and find a secret sauce out there. So they're searching. right? I searched all over the world, all over the fucking planet. Then, because, eventually the insanity has to peak. Well, that for me was traveling the world trying to find holy men. Oh, yeah, I got to be around holy people. That'll fix it. Yeah. And I eventually figured out the secret sauce is that there is no secret sauce. Okay? And I guarantee you, anyone worth their weight that's gone through that phase of life, which you might go through that phase more than once. You might need to face it again. Coming back to cycles, if the cycle doesn't peak, if you don't hit that blow off top, you're going to face it again, buddy. You're going to go through it again. I hate to tell you. There's no magic. There's no magic. It comes down to what I can see and what I can do. My awareness towards myself, my reality, the world and how it is, the universe and how it is, and those truths. Because there's universal truths, galactic truths, all the way down to your truths, which we've seen that get stretched a little bit, haven't we? Seen some of the Nike ads with, somebody who from a BMI standpoint is fat and unhealthy, but that's supposed to be their truth all of a sudden. I don't think so. You're just lying. You're just bullshitting yourself. And clearly you've removed all the mirrors from your house. Okay? But yeah, so then there's those truths. And it comes down to what I can see, what I can do. So the awareness I have situationally and on myself. And then what am I going to do about it? Because the world isn't going to change. My response changes. And the things that used to be a mountain back here and a big ass wall to climb are all of a sudden just part of the daily agenda. You ever notice that? Have you ever sat down and looked back in time on things that used to be literally Mount Everest for you, and now it's just like 7 a.m. Monday through Friday? There's so many. So many. Cold showers used to be one for me. Cold baths used to be one. Ice baths. Working out 5 days a week, I'm sure, was one. For, somebody who just had back surgery, putting on their socks is one of them. Walking is one of them. I mean, it just depends on where you're at, right? So don't just discredit or devalue any of this shit as you're sitting down thinking about it. If it comes to you, it's worth writing it down. But there are so many things that used to be a mountain for you. Public speaking, I almost failed high school because I could not speak in front of people. I'd con my way in with the teacher to have her allow me to give my speeches in the morning. So I'd wake up super early, go to school early, and do my speeches in front of her while she was grading papers. End of the year came, and I had to do that final speech, that final big one that was 70% of the grade, right? And I flopped. I turned red because I was going off of like a memorized story, which is just fucking awful. I don't even remember what it was, but it was probably some horse shit, right? Some stupid thing I needed to talk about. And I lost my place because I was like, did I say this? In my head, I was like, did I say this right back here? And then it like fumbled me, and I got lost, and oh fuck, I forgot where I'm at. And like I could only imagine what my face looked like, because inside I'm like this. I'm like, oh my god, turned red. The Adam's apple feels like you're gonna swallow it. Oh yeah, sweating, stuck, shaking. And of course everyone in the classroom was pissed off, because when you feel that, they feel that. Nobody wants to feel like that. So people aren't like making fun of you as much as they're fucking pissed off that you just made them feel like that. I was so terrified of speaking in front of groups, I would avoid it. Even like 3-4 people like roll up in a group, roll up on me, I'd get the kind of nervousness, right? Or like I'm at a dinner, a networking thing, whatever. And it was a really long time before I tackled that one. Here we are doing a live stream, peak of doing live streams. I mean, we'd have over 1,000 people on these things. Done webinars in front of 1,000 people, spoke in front of over 1,000 people, hosted Toastmasters, done training with Toastmasters for other people to help them get better at public speaking. That to me, though, used to be fucking Mount Everest. And now it's just, here we are. What is today? Monday? It's fucking Monday morning with Jay. So, yeah, the things that are holding you back are all self-made. They're all created in here, first of all. But it's also the one thing that most people don't want to look at. It's the last thing they want to look at. It's only after they've exhausted going to the doctor and all the medicines for the quick fix. You got a broken kneecap, but they're going to put a Band-Aid on it. Okay, doc. It's only after that, and we've exhausted the holistic, then we've gone into the biohacking, then we've gone into meditation and yoga, that it comes right back to where it all started. Inner creates the outer. So you see, I believe that in the universe, everything is simple. Not easy, but simple. Meaning it's like, do this, then this, then this, right? Simple. Doesn't mean easy, though. And a lot of times, it's the hardest shit you'll do. And the hardest shit, I'm convinced, the hardest shit you'll do in your whole life is face yourself. Forgive yourself. Accept what's going on. Make a new plan and continually work that plan with, reckless abandonment, with ferocious resolve. That is the hardest shit you'll ever do. Because, don't know if you've noticed, but, the distractions are grabbing at you. It's like we're trying to walk down the street and all day long, it's like social media. Iran war. Oh no, maybe President Trump is a fucking retard. No, he's a genius. Oh no, everyone hates him. Fuck, but why do they hate him? Right? And the mainstream media. Oh fuck yeah, man, gay people really do have it bad. And the LGBTQRS, they got it really bad too. Fuck no, it's the black people, they got it bad. No, it's the Indians. Oh fuck no, it's the Jews. All day long, man. That's why nobody gets shit done. Because there's always going to be something there to distract you. And it don't go away when you make money. I hate to tell you. It don't go away. You get more expensive shit to go spend your money on. That's why Louis Vuitton and Gucci and all them exist. Okay? They're just expensive distractions. The news is a cheap distraction because that shit's free. Facebook, Twitter, etc. Right? But yeah, man. That's it. There is no big secret. And that's the hardest thing to hear because there's going to be people listening to this on the live stream, rewatching, going, no, Jay, you're wrong because you're on the path right now. So you're so emotionally invested into this, you can't admit right now. You couldn't just stop and just admit like, fuck, maybe he's right. Maybe I should just do something else. It'd be really hard to admit that. There'd be very, very small percentage of people who could admit like, just book the trip to India to go fucking sit at the temples all day. I've done it. Fasting. Ugh. Don't look at yourself. Don't talk to anybody. I've done it. Yeah, I've done it. Eye-opening shit, though. I can't give you those lessons. I can only do what I'm doing here right now, which is sharing my experience, hoping that it, does something for you. But those will always be the strongest. The most expensive lessons will always be the best lessons. The biggest failures will always be the best lessons, the best teacher. It's just how it is. Has to be. Has to be that way. Good times create a weak man, and weak men create hard times. Cycle of life. That's great. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. Yeah, it is. And that's why it's really hard, to stay aggressive, to stay sharp when things start going good. It's really easy to do it when everything's bad. Because when everything's bad and you're up against a wall, you kind of feel real deeply that you got no choice. You got no choice. So I got to do it. But then it starts to ease up and you almost feel like this pressure relieved. Which is why it's so commendable to people like, David Goggins, who, that guy's probably one of the only people that exist. There's others that exist like that. But he's one of the very few that you know of, because he's public, that consistently is able to stay in that place of comfortably uncomfortable all the time. Yeah, it's tough. It's really, really tough. Even the bitch of it is that if you stay too long in the dumps, you get comfortable in the dumps, don't you? And then if you get kicked out of the house or the place you're staying, what's so bad about living on the street? You start convincing yourself. Living on the street for a couple weeks, I can tell you, not for me. That shit's not for me at all. Even in the worst of times, I'm not willing to give up on myself that much that I'd let it go back to that. I would die before that happened, because I would be willing to sacrifice my life and everything to not get to there. You see? And what's that come back to? Comes back to away from pain towards pleasure. You know, cycle of life. Cycle of life. It's really the depth of it is very fascinating shit. It really is. The surface level stuff is far less interesting. When you get down into like the cogs of what's creating it, what's causing it, and how it's showing itself in your life, it's far more fascinating, far more interesting, because then you start to see the little things, the micro that's created the macro. And that's really hard for an individual to see about themselves because, you know, awareness. Fairly easy to see it in others, right? But yeah. Any questions? That was the third time I said that shit. I actually memorized it from the first time I had it on a call this morning, and then I did the first live stream, and it obviously wasn't live, and now here's the third time. And I almost said it the same exact way every time. I never use notes. I never rehearse what I'm going to say, because I think it's not for me. Okay? I think it's unproductive for somebody like me. I think I'd be awful if I rehearsed shit. But I almost said it the same exact way every time. That's cool. That took me a long time to get that one down. What I did to train that is because, you know, again, going back to it, it's like, okay, you just getting back into public speaking. You've kind of like nailed it a few times. But you still kind of have like this desire, like, how can I talk about this thing for this much time? You get nervous. Will I be able to? Whereas what I replace that with is throw me in any situation. I can not only get myself out, but I can thrive in that situation. And so, you know, throw me into any conversation. All of a sudden I bump into the president. What would I say? That kind of thing. And I would purposefully go out and throw myself into those situations. Like, okay, I would do different variations of it. But sometimes I'd go out to the bar. This is years ago. Go out to the bar with no money and no phone. Have a good night. Are you going to be able to drink? So it's like, okay, make new friends, meet women, have them buy you drinks, get drunk, have a fun time, make new friends, somehow make your way back with no money. Like the tests got more and more dramatic, more and more extreme with all different areas of like the, you know, testing. But yeah, that was one of them. A big piece of it was I can go into this webinar or this live stream right now, and I know exactly what the fuck I'm going to say. I know exactly what's important to say here. And the thing that I actually took and built in was like, what are the big core pieces of this? Like, what are the talking points I want to hit on? And it's so good now that I can take like one talking point, and that could be 10 minutes if I need it to be, or it could be hours. Like this shit that we're talking about now, I could talk about for 2 days straight. All different ways. All different ways. In and out of it, right? And then it's like, yeah, I just kind of started building it around there. And it doesn't always make sense. There's a piece that I'm not always great at, which is like beginning, middle, end. But I've gotten better at that. And as long as I'm clear and I'm not nervous when it starts, then I'm okay. But there's points in time, like even right now, me on this webinar, live stream, like there's been points where I've stopped myself. Like the anxiety starts to come in and it starts to escalate. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it still hits me. It still affects me. It's like, okay, calm down, keep going on. And when it hits me, I like lose my train of thought. Like it can get so bad you forget your name, right? And that's still something that's there. It's just, again, it hasn't disappeared. It's just how you deal with it has changed. Anyway, that's my thoughts. So that's one of my goals for this year, 2020. I want to do more streams like this where it's like, look, I look like shit. I smell like shit. That does not matter. What matters is the message. What matters is what I'm talking to you about. That is the highest value that I can provide for you is while something grabs me and is super fresh and it's like, let's go talk about this shit. I flick on the camera and we talk. So that's one of my goals for this year is to do more of that. I do have a lot of other things we'll be rolling out. The 2020 Trends Report too. I'm going to roll that out on Empire Research. So let's click over here. We just did a small site redesign on this. We still got some cleaning up to do. There's some formatting issues, but we're going to release that over here, and you'll be able to read through the whole thing instead of downloading a PDF, which I think is getting a little bit old school now. I'll still provide it as a PDF, but yeah, you'll be able to go and read it all here as well for 2020 trends. And then I'm going to kind of bring in these different comparisons. I haven't thought of the layout all the way through, but I want to bring in all the pieces that I got right from the 2019 trends report, because there's about 12 things that I nailed. Okay, well, not nailed. I'd say 5 I nailed. 12 things got right. So for 2020, I want to do that a little bit differently. The formatting is going to be different, and I think that's going to create a more fun experience for you guys. Any questions before I go? Any questions from anyone still on the stream? But yeah, if you want this, it's free. Mindset.substack.com. Not every day, but pretty close. The audios, I do audios on there weekly too. That's really catching me raw, is when I do the audios, because I'm like coming right back from the gym or right off a coaching call or something, and I'm raw and I'm fucking dumping it, right? So, but yeah, that's free. I mean, everything on Empire Research is, we still got a ton of free stuff over there. 2020 Trends Report will still be free. I give away, I would say, last year was about 70%. The year before was about 100%. This year, it'll probably be about 60, 70% again. Giveaways as much as I can for free, but understand that you won't be as committed on free stuff as you will when you got skin in the game, and it sucks, and I don't like that either. But when you pay for shit, and usually when you spend a lot of money on something, you pay attention. So if you pay attention. You like that? So anyway, that's that. Any questions? No? Okay, you can still get a free membership too. Just go to empireresearch.group. It's 100% free. You give name, email, address. There's a whole members area that has all kinds of videos, all kinds of training. A lot of time went into that. We're going to be doing the next phase of that in this quarter, and that will still stay free for you guys. And then you get access to the Discord too, which we still have a Discord. It's small, tight, and very, very different than when I had 6,000 people in there. I don't care to have 6,000 people ever. I just want it to be a better resource than like a comment section. And then people obviously to interact and grow relationships together, right? All right, that's it. See ya.